I've been wanting to make this video for a while now, about 2 weeks or so, and every time I think about doing this video or sit down and try to record it or anything, I just feel like it's very complex to explain this, but I'm gonna try my best. So, right now Chile is in a very delicate state. This state has been changing every day. That's another reason why, if I would have made this video 2 weeks ago, the whole landscape would have been different. Every day new things emerge in Chile, and it's very heartbreaking because every day is more violent than the one before, and it's violent because of the extreme cases of torture, murder, and things that are happening by the agents of the state, and it's really extreme. So I'm gonna try to summarize what's happening very briefly so you get where I'm coming from. A few weeks ago, people started jumping the turnstiles of the subway because the subway fare was risen by 40 cents of the dollar, and people were just had enough and start like evading the subway fare. Now, a lot of coverage from international media has said this, like, oh my God, it all started by the rising of the subway fare. But in reality, it's not that. In reality, the whole political, economic, and social system in Chile is broken. It's a highly unequal society. So from afar, this looks like, as the president said, an oasis. It looks pretty good. Like, people make $15,000 per capita and everything's good. But if you go to the details, the social inequality is so bad. The Organization for the Coordination of Economic Development stated that if you're born poor, your family will need 6 generations to start making an average living in Chile. Housing is extremely expensive. Health has been privatized. Education has been privatized. The water is privatized. Like, Chile is the only country in the world in which the water has been privatized. The whole country is a mess, and it's been a mess because everything has been organized so the very elite can rule the country, and that cannot be changed. This started many years ago. We had a dictatorship. It started in 1973, and this dictatorship lasted for 17 years. During that time, the constitution was changed. Who changed the constitution was a group of military and a group of economic engineers who decided to reorganize the whole fabric of society and create a constitution that will be basically impossible to modify. You will need a vast majority in parliament, and that will never happen. And we have been dragging this constitution for 46 years now. Nobody has touched that constitution in any meaningful way. And what has been happening is people are tired. People are overexploited. People cannot afford to live in Santiago. They can. It's really hard to live there. It's a highly unequal society. And on top of that, it's a society that favors the rich in ways that are shameful, to be honest. Like, if you sell pirate CDs on the street, you go to jail. But if you evade taxes for several thousand million Chilean pesos, or like several $1,000,000, you just get a few classes of ethics. It's amazing how unequal this is. The other thing is that during the dictatorship, the military and the police were all with the government, and these are forces they have been working against the people in Chile for decades. The two biggest scandals in the late time in Chile were the military was stealing a heavy amount of money, and the police have been stealing a heavy amount of money. So these are two institutions that are currently rotten. These are unethical institutions. This week even, there are like new scandals because there's a pedophilia net inside the police who are giving kids away for being prostituted. Like, it's so bad. This is so bad. So why am I saying this? A few weeks ago, people started evading the subway because it was too expensive. And then from evading the subway, the government said, you're not gonna do that. They started closing subway stations. They closed it for a whole weekend. They sent the police. The police started beating the students and the people trying to evade. And it got way out of hand. So the government declared a state of, it's a state of emergency in a way, but it's not a real emergency because it's a social emergency. It's not a natural disaster. But the President Piñera basically sent the military to the street and the police to start beating anybody who would do anything that they consider illegal. The problem is, as I was saying, these two institutions are A, highly corrupt, and B, they have been torturing and killing people. They did it for 17 years, and then we came to this democracy. Nothing was supposed to be wrong. but in reality they were still repressing a lot of groups, and now it's just out in the open. The police are shooting to the head. It's out of control.
Que los cumplas feliz. Bravo. Bravo. Sopla la velita, así.
This is Jose Miguel Uribe. Here he is 25 years old and he's celebrating with his son Baltasar. It's his son's birthday. Jose was killed by the military forces in Curicó, and the reason they gave is because he had a sign in his hands. Jose just left home, grabbed a sign, went to the streets. There was not even a curfew. There was just going out on the street, a protest, and sing with your neighbors against the abuses of the government. Jose was shot dead on the streets, and the government didn't care. This is just one of the many victims that have happened last time. We have dozens of them. We have their names, but we don't know the specifics. Because the other thing is that the police are hiding information. They're covering. Lately, it's been discovered that several people who were said that had died on an incident because they were burning a supermarket. In reality, they were shot dead, placed on the supermarket, and then burned. The police is hiding information. They are trying to take people out of the medical services, out of the forensic analysis, so they can't tell the truth. This has to do in a way with right wing versus left wing, but in reality it's not about partisan politics. It's about humanity. It's about human rights. People in Chile are fighting to get human rights back. They want a proper health system. They want education. They want not to die on a hospital because they can't afford the bill, and that is not happening. Just let me give you an example. The minimum wage is $440. That's the minimum wage. And an average pension of a retired woman in Chile is $260. The pensions are administered by privatized company who are making millions out of stealing everybody's money, and you can't do anything about it. You can't change anything. The whole thing is tied to the Constitution. So people are on the streets trying to change the Constitution. While all of this is happening, I'm here in New York going to my PhD, trying to learn about performance theory, and I feel so weird. I need to upload videos on YouTube. I need to go on with my life. But at the same time, I feel A, that it's irresponsible to do any of this while the people from my country are just being killed. And B, I can't do anything about it. I can't live where I am. I can't leave my program. I can't just go and run to Chile to solve what. So I'm in this very uncomfortable position in which I have no idea what to do. So this is what I'm doing. I'm just sharing you what's happening. Back in 2011 until 2013, a similar uprising happened, but it was different. It was just a student uprising. It wasn't a whole population uprising. Like right now, the last big march was like 1.5 million people on the streets just protesting, just in Santiago. I don't know if you know the group Rage Against the Machine. It's a rock band, but the thing got so impressive that they made an Instagram account and they posted just the image from the Chile protest. Like, it's basically an icon. People here in New York are copying the jumping the turnstiles, and they're using like Negro Matapaco, which was a dog that we had in Chile, which was a small dog that were chasing. Yeah, it's a dog that was chasing cops, and it was with the students and whatnot. It was a symbol of the student revolution of 2011, 2013. I was there in Chile back in those days, and I shot so many roles during that time. That was the moment in which I was actually getting into film photography. So my first roles were in that school, the school of being on the streets and getting beaten by the police and trying to, avoid the chemical water and trying to get the tear gas. And I've been wanting to make a scene with those images for a long time, and I did it. I recently did it. It's this one. It's called Violent Empire, and I did this scene. I sent this. When was it? Like a month and a half ago. Yeah. I sent it to print before any of this October Revolution happened. And now it feels like I am in this uncomfortable position in which now that the scene is finally on my hands and I can tell you, hey man, here are the images that I took of, Chile when the students were protesting and the police were doing horrible things to us and they were beating us, and it was like a really intense moment in Chilean history. This is being repeated right now. This that I thought was dormant, that I thought the anger was kind of gone for now, it's back. People are tired, and this is back again. This was 6 years ago, and nothing has changed. I made this scene because I wanted to celebrate those moments in which I thought, people have finally woken up, and I'm sad that they're sleeping again, but someday they'll wake up. Little did I know that they woke up again. I am in between worlds, and I have decided that the most honest position I can take is just let you know about all of this. This is the reality of what's happening in Chile. People are getting killed. People are being tortured. It will be great if you could pay attention to this. Please do so. I'm gonna make another video and tell you about the details of this. I have some footage of when I was organizing it. I thought it was right to tell you because what's happening now is not an isolated element. It's not something that happened just now out of the blue. Like the first student uprising was in 2006, the second was from 2011, 2013, and now we're in the third one, and this one is not gonna stop anytime soon. Please pay attention to what's happening. I hope you have a great week. I'm sorry for not posting so much lately. I'll try to go back to my schedule, but please understand that this has been extremely difficult. Fran is behind the camera, and we are just checking Twitter all day and trying to get information about our families and friends and people who get injured, and it's really sad. It's really sad that the whole thing has been blown out of any proportion, and the government, instead of listening to the demands, the rightful demands of the people, they have chosen to take the side of the oppressors, just like the dictatorship. So I guess nothing has changed. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week.